it's Floss. I have been very absent for a long time and there are reasons to that. I can't tell you why just yet, but expect news to drop soon, real soon. But I have not been reading, or I have been reading. I have been reading a stack of reviews I'm going to burn through in the next couple of days, so prepare for my opinions. Hopefully my news will be dropping in the next 10 or so days, which is pretty exciting. And the news itself is pretty exciting. So stand by for that. It will change what's going to happen here on the vlog though. So that will explain why I haven't been vlogging and what's going to happen here on the vlog moving forward. So keep an eye out for it. Interesting times ahead. Of course, I have been reading, along with everybody else, A Court of Wings and Ruin, which I thought was supposed to be the final Mist and Fury, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I thought it was the final one. But was I the only one who thought this was the end and it was a trilogy? This is the third book in the series. It picks up after the end of the last book where the two sisters of Feyre were thrown into the cauldron and changed. Feyre is, to stop a slaughter, says, I will go back with Tamlin to the Spring Court. And we join her there in the Spring Court at the start of the book. She is being a double agent. She's decided she's going to pretend to Tamlin and to everyone around her that she wants to be there, that her time with Rhysand was completely against her will, she was held hostage, and that she was basically brainwashed to be there. And so that she is coming back now and healing and learning to be amongst the Spring Court people, and very manipulatively plays everybody against everybody in an effort to bring down the Spring Court. She's decided she's going to seek vengeance against Tamlin for everything he's done to her, and that includes bringing down his entire High Court and visiting people from Highburn who were there. She's also spying on them to try and get information back to Valaris and Rhysand and all his team as well, so that she can help them ahead of the war. This obviously is all building towards this massive war with Highburn looking to invade and bring down the wall and basically decimate the humans and basically also take over the Feylands. So this is where we join the story, and as you can see, it's a whopper. Now, I won't spoil anything yet, I will give you warnings. Did I enjoy the book? Yes! It is undeniable that I think that Sarah J. Maas has a great skill as a writer in terms of she writes she writes a story that I want to keep reading, and in a genre that I don't particularly enjoy per se. What I didn't like about this book was there was a lot of things, but also at the same time it's weird because I still enjoyed it but I didn't like it. Much like if you've seen my review of A Court of Mist and Fury, I had the same kind of thing where I was enjoying the story, I was really into it, but at the same time there was big things that were an issue for me. There was a lot of what I like to think of as train and explain, where Feyre is training with people and they're explaining everything to her, and it's an exposition dump basically, or a backstory dump, or a forward story dump, or a world dump, but she basically spends a lot of time learning her skills, and it's a train and explain. And there was so many scenes of this through various areas that it just felt like it was going on forever. Like, oh, I was just like, enough already, let's get on with it, let's move. And that sort of speaks to the whole book. So many things that could have been cut, and I won't say anything without spoiling. There were so many scenes and whole series and people and backstories that were, I feel like maybe she got so lost in the world of all these characters that she loved, and they were interesting, sure, but they didn't need to be there. I think we could have learned about, you know, Durin and Miriam and Dracon. They didn't help my journey of the story that much. I was interested, sure, a little bit, but not particularly. I wanted to know what's happening with the Core 5 and what's going on with Tamlin and Lucian. They're cool, but what's happening over here? The book itself and the whole story was so long, and unfortunately what made me think it was a trilogy, and still reading it I feel like it is a trilogy, and then the new books will take us to other people, was that the series ended in the most bow tie ending, and that's sort of a spoiler, sorry, I should have warned you, but it was just, yeah, I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want to spoil. So if you haven't read it, would I encourage you to read it? I really enjoyed the first book. I know a lot of people didn't, and I loved the second book. I think for me the first book had real consequences, had real darkness to it. I felt Feyre was her own person in a really powerful way, and she was navigating a world that she wasn't familiar with in the best way that she could for reasons that were valid. and meant something. And then from there, the series has sort of unraveled a little bit for me. I still really enjoyed reading it. You know, saying this, I will probably still pick up the next ones in the series. I will probably keep reading. But I did find that this third book was more disappointment than excitement. So, the spoilers. Let's so much to talk about. Oh my god, okay. Kill someone. And that sounds terrible to say, but kill someone! Like, there was no consequences for any of it in terms of this huge building war and this massive showdown was happening, and it happened, and people were fighting, and there was violence, and it was, I hate to say great, but like it was a war. It's supposed to be epic. And then everyone was cool. Yay! Like there was no lasting consequences from the battle. Nobody died. No one had to sacrifice anything. And it just kind of reminded me a little of Twilight, Breaking Dawn, which is, wow, that's offensive. But it was just this huge anticipated thing. And then everyone was like, happy endings. Like, Amren, I'm sorry, I really like you as a character, but you should have died in that cauldron. You should have gone. That would have been a great sacrifice for the world. She wanted out. What was wrong? Why couldn't she have had out? Cassian, I love Cassian. I would have loved to have seen, and this is, I saw this on a Goodreads review, would have loved to have seen if he hadn't got his wings back. What that means to someone who is so physical and a leader of people, and those people respect him for his ability to control the legions in the air. What does that look like for this man moving forward? And how does he combat that with obviously the building Nesta thing, which, hello, could we not have had more of that? I was interested in that. I get that there was a burning, simmering, very, for me, hot tension going on there, but let's see that develop. The more bisexual drop? No. Not because I don't believe that she could have been, but there was no evidence to show it. Let's have a chat on the hill about my bisexuality that nobody knows about and I've never even shown you any indication of or struggled with. P.S. It makes me look like a dick for the way I've been treating Azriel in terms of her, like, leading him on for 500 years. Like, it's not like a couple of weeks or months or anything like that. Like, no, it just undercut more as a very cool, very assured person. What else? The whole mirror thing. And that kind of, the mirror, the carver, the bone cleaver, and the person in the library, whatever that dude's name was, Braxis. I was just, they all were like the darkness that no one could face, and it was so terrible, and everyone was going mad if you saw or touched or interacted with any of those things, and yet Feyre's like, got it, like easy, like it was too easy. There was no, people didn't die because of maybe Braxis got out. She didn't have to face that or any of that stuff. Kind of, it just was like, snatch, woo. I was texting with someone when we both finished it, and she made an excellent point of, she said, Jess, good point, that Sarah J. Maas seems to have lost Rhysand's character a little bit between book 2 and 3, and I absolutely agree with that. I felt like he was just the good guy. It's just straight up Rhysand, and everyone else paled in comparison to him. Early on, I did see someone tweet, and I had to like avoid it really quickly, but it was hilarious, was that for Australians, the word mate is like mate. G'day mate, what's happening? And we don't say it like that all the time, we're not Crocodile Dundee, but it is still, you know, sort of a bit like friendly. So the fact that they used mate so often, all the time when they were talking was, if you read those lines again with a bit of an stray into it, it's hilarious. Rhysand's and Feyre's relationship was so rude to their friends around them in terms of this whole internal dialogue they had to each other. I'm like, he's been rolling with that crew for 500 years, and you're all like, secret talks. And a lot of secret talks could have happened in front of them. It wasn't anything scandalous about someone. It wasn't anything it was literally just about often sex or like our plans that I will tell everyone 5 seconds later. But also think of, like, she does talk about for 5 seconds how she goes vacant when she's having a chat with him and she sees it in other people. They do it all the time. Like, how annoyed would you be if you were their friend and you're like, hey, how about that? No. Still talk, wait, no. Still vacant? What? No. They were frustrating to me, and that's the thing. And so I kind of found myself reading in starts and spurts where I'd be like, I'll read heaps of chapters in one day, and then I'd get tired because I'm like, oh my god, if we have to train one more time and explain with Azrael. And that's another thing. The freaking Feyre never lost. Like, I loved book 1 because she lost so much in terms of not lost things, but she lost to the not the Atol, but she lost in the Under the Mountain, and she lost like battles against people. Sure, she won through different things, but she was just like, she managed to figure out how to fly. She managed to figure out how to get all these things that she needed to help defeat the war. There was no point where Feyre came up short. And for me, it just made her like the amazing person. And the fake out with Rhysand's death, like, come on. There's no way she's killing Rhysand. Although, wouldn't that have been interesting? I would have really interested to see how would have reacted if she did, if she stuck it and went, nope, he's dead. He made the man who's, like, wouldn't it have been interesting to see that the man who's sacrificed so much already pays the ultimate sacrifice and doesn't get to see the happiness that he so desperately wanted for his kingdom? Like, that would be very sad and bittersweet. What did you guys think of the series? What did you think of the book? Did you agree with the fact that the series is going to continue? Are you going to read it? I'm not sure about it. As I said, I probably will out of curiosity, but I don't know if it's a day one, 9 a.m. pre-order, run to the bookstore kind of situation like it was for me with this one. So that is A Court of Wings and Ruin. It's available in hardback and paperback at all good bookstores. And yeah, that's it.